Hi, I'm Karen Russell, and I'm here with Alan Walls, and we're going over the posture, the asana, Eka Pada Rajakapotasana, and this is one-legged king pigeon prep. Now, the reason why I'm saying prep, because we're not going to take you through king pigeon. That will be in another advanced series. So this is the prep for king pigeon. Wonderful posture for hip opening and piriformis. So the piriformis, when it's tight, it can really wreak havoc, be causes of sciatica and so on. So this is a great posture without going into the full king pigeon. We're going to start right now from tabletop. Just for a note that a lot of vinyasa flow, people will start from down dog and kind of whip the leg through. There's nothing wrong with that. I just sometimes don't teach that because many people are not aware of their knees, and sometimes they'll just like put it through and plop the knee down. So that's why we're going to start with the tabletop. And so Alan's going to do his checkpoints. Lovely. His fingers are spread, shoulders back. It's always good to check in. Navel to spine, flesh the buttocks to the knees, toes are nice and rooted in. And he's just going to start to slide his right knee towards his right wrist. And notice that the right foot is trying to get to parallel. Now, sometimes if you have knees that are it's a little hard, or your hips, you're not going to get your chin parallel with the top of the mat. That's okay. Then keep the heel back, right? So if your front foot is the foot's more towards the midline and it's not parallel to the top of the mat, then point the toes. Okay, that's a nice little thing to keep a little activation for the knees. His back leg, make sure that your back leg isn't flaring out. So you want it to be closer to the midline. So bring it in just a little bit more out. Beautiful. Now, what I like to do with this is also engage the navel a lot. I like to do a little pelvic lift in Mula Bandh here because we have a tendency to let it all just go to the floor. And then he can bring his hands back for a moment. And what I like to do before you forward fold, now we'll notice here that Alan doesn't really need a block under his right hip. If his buttocks was way off the ground, we would put a block or a blanket there to keep the hips square. But he's doing pretty good here. You can draw the hips square a little bit more, draw that right hip back. Now, before you forward fold, I always like to take the opportunity to do a little bit of an up dog feeling. So press down through your hands, lift the heart up, even lift the pelvic floor up. And then as you exhale, slowly lower down, flat back. And he has a block there that he can use to rest his forehead. Sometimes we would take a bolster in restorative yoga. We might take a couple bolsters and rest our head or our torso over the bolster. So it's lovely. And then usually, even in a flow class, the Eka Pada Rajakapotasana one-legged king pigeon prep pose will do as a nice cooling hip opener. So take the opportunity, relax your drishti, your focus, take the opportunity to use your breath work, right? So this is a time where you can breathe deeper into the hips, to the low back, expanding through the kidneys, and really focus on the breath and calming the nervous system down. And your drishti is soft. And you'll start to notice you'll get a little further and further to the floor. And then keep the right hip back a little bit more out, and lift up. Now, just like all of our postures, you want the same integrity coming out of it. So place the hands on each side of the hips and just raise right up. Now there's some options. You can just roll to the right hip and bring the back leg around to get out of it. Maybe a forward fold or something like that that's calming and cooling, right? That's one option of getting out of Eka Pada Rajakapotasana. Or you could go kick back to downward dog. This is a nice option when you're first starting your practice and taking some time with it. So now, Alan, let's show them, what if your hips are not square? And say it's almost impossible. The hips are not square. The one hip's not touching the floor. So let's go through our alignment a little bit more. Move up a little bit further if you can. And make sure that back leg is in the midline. Yeah, check with the midline. So what if that right hip is off the floor? You can take a block. So a lot of people just don't have mobility in their hips. So you can actually sit on a block so that you can square the hips. So now you can really draw the right hip back. The hips are square, and it's a little bit more comfortable. And then you would go through the same process. So now, Alan, let's come out of it, remove the block, and show them how you can get to down dog from this. So the other option of getting out of it. So he's going to remove the block, and now there's another option. It takes a little more strength, right? So he has to lift through the navel and go to down dog. That navel lift, right? That's the Uddiyana Bandha, that little shh. So sometimes if you're flowing through a little bit more, some people like to get into their one-leg king pigeon prep from downward dog or from hands and knees. So let's lower the knees down. And what if all of this just isn't, you want to be more comfortable? You can actually take the bolster and you can wrap that front leg over and actually kind of sit on the bolster. And that's okay, right? You can sit up on the bolster. It's a little more comfortable. Keep drawing the right hip back, right? So if your right knee is forward and right foot's forward, remember you're gonna have a tendency to let the hip go with the knee, so draw it back, little opposition. And let's just do one more deep breath in, press down, lift the heart up. Remember, take that opportunity to get up dog. And then exhale, forward fold, elongate, side body long. He can use the block. He might even want to put the block on the highest point, right? And so that you can rest your head and neck. So this is a wonderful, deep hip opener, piriformis, releases the low back, gives you an opportunity for cooling and breathing deep. Eka Pada Rajakapotasana, one-legged king pigeon prep pose.